Or likely in the next 30 days, and in November of 2025, we start turning the tide with what will be remembered as one of the most important elections.
We have a president that has appointed some of the most incompetent people you can imagine to the United States Congress. We have a, but I'll go to here. Let's take the middle ground here and say it's collapsing, and I'll meet you halfway. But that's about all. Joe Biden, the Democrat, Donald Trump, the Republican, Joe Manchin and Larry Hogan, no labels, and Cornel West.
Trump is aging like milk in the hot sun, says Democratic legend James Carville, and the numbers don't lie. His approval ratings are tanking faster than the Titanic, while his legal troubles pile up higher than his hair on a windy day. Remember when Trump boasted he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose voters? Well, he might need to check that theory again, because even his diehard fans are quietly backing away. Stick around to see exactly what Carville said that left Trump completely speechless and scrambling for comebacks.
They don't look like cuts to me, they look like sores. And I've asked a number of MDs treating measles with apricot pits or something like that. I think the thing is collapsed, but I'll go to here. Let's take the middle.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. James Carville isn't just throwing shade at Trump these days. He's basically performing a live autopsy on the former president's political career. When Carville appeared on CNN last week, he didn't hold back, calling Trump expired milk that's been left out in the sun too long. You wouldn't drink it, so why would you vote for it? He quipped while the panel struggled to keep straight faces. Remember when Trump used to send Republicans running for cover with a single tweet? Those days are gone faster than Trump's McDonald's order. Carville pointed this out with his trademark Louisiana drawl. Watch how his power is draining away like old milk down the sink. Republicans who used to kiss his ring are now holding their noses instead.
Told us, treating measles with apricot pits or something like that. I think the thing is collapsed.
But you look at and not feel apprehension here. That landed in the New York Times. Obviously, like I mentioned, you speak precisely.
While Trump keeps insisting he's more popular than ever at his increasingly empty rallies, the numbers tell a completely different story. His approval ratings are dropping faster than his comb-over in a hurricane. According to the latest Quinnipiac poll, Trump's favorability has plummeted to just 37% overall, numbers that would make any campaign manager reach for the antacid. The milk analogy isn't just Carville being colorful, it perfectly captures Trump's situation. In 2016, he seemed fresh and exciting to voters tired of the same old politicians. Now, he's turned sour with the same stale complaints and grievances that are starting to curdle even among his supporters. As Carville put it, Trump is like that milk carton you forgot about. The longer it sits, the worse it smells, and right now, America's holding its nose. The real trouble for Trump is happening with independent voters in states that actually matter.
The Emailgate scandal triggered a massive downfall for the Trump administration. Legendary Democratic strategist James Carville made this bold prediction just a month ago.
So Trump wins, he does that. You know what the media's going to do? They're going to go to a diner and start interviewing people. So I had no idea he said that.
Recent polling from Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin shows his support among independents dropping by double digits compared to 2020. In Michigan alone, Trump has lost 14 points with independent voters since last year. That's not a leak, that's a flood. Even Fox News, Trump's media cheerleader for years, can't spin these numbers into anything positive. Their own polling shows Trump's base shrinking, while their hosts awkwardly pivot to stories about Biden's age or Hunter's laptop, anything to avoid mentioning the elephant not filling the room at Trump rallies. When Sean Hannity had to report Fox's own poll showing Trump trailing in 5 of 6 battleground states, you could almost see the pain in his eyes. Carville, meanwhile, is having the time of his life, pointing out that Trump's infamous boast about being able to shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose voters is aging about as well as Trump himself. Turns out, Carville cackled on MSNBC, he didn't need to shoot anyone to lose voters. He just needed to be himself for a few more years.
We're not arguing. We look at what's happening in the markets. We look at what happened on Sigelgate. We look at what's happening all around. Condition manifests itself through hand sores, and the answer is immediate and unanimous. secondary syphilis.
How bad are Trump's approval ratings right now? They've actually sunk to levels not seen since the days immediately following January 6th, when even his loyal supporters were questioning what the heck just happened. A recent New York Times Siena College poll found that 10% of Republicans who voted for Trump in 2020 now say they won't support him in 2024. That might not sound like much, but in an election where margins of victory are often razor thin, it's political quicksand. Trump's team is in full panic mode, trying everything from new campaign slogans to bizarre social media stunts involving gold sneakers and NFTs. They've rotated through message after message, hoping something, anything, will stick. But as Carville delightfully pointed out, it's like putting lipstick on spoiled milk. You can dress it up all you want, but nobody's buying what you're selling. While Trump's team desperately peddles gold sneakers and recycled slogans, something far more devastating is happening. People are simply stopping to care.
Said Memorial Day is before April Fool's Day, which the Trump administration should make a national holiday because it's so accurately represented. I think it'll still be up. There's a story that talks about Trump having hand cuts, and you can link to it. They don't look like cuts to me.
The once electric MAGA rallies that dominated news cycles for days now barely make the local paper, and that might be Trump's worst nightmare coming true. Remember when Trump rallies were the hottest ticket in town? People would camp overnight like they were waiting for concert tickets, decked out in MAGA gear and ready to cheer at every applause line. Now, Carville has been gleefully pointing out how these events have transformed into what can only be described as sad little gatherings, where even the diehards look bored out of their minds. The magic trick is wearing off right before our eyes. You can see it in the footage that rarely makes it to primetime anymore. Half-empty venues with supporters scrolling through their phones while Trump rambles on about the same grievances he's been nursing since 2016. The energy that once made these rallies feel like a combination of a rock concert and religious revival has fizzled out like a cheap firework. Even the chants sound tired, as if the crowd is going through the motions out of obligation rather than excitement. The MAGA movement that seemed unstoppable just a few years ago is showing serious signs of fatigue. Carville loves pointing this out, comparing Trump to an aging rock star playing the same 3 hits to smaller and smaller crowds who are checking their watches. The problem isn't just the shrinking attendance, it's the yawning faces of those who still show up. When your most loyal supporters look like they'd rather be home watching reruns of The Apprentice, you've got a serious enthusiasm problem, and it's not just the rallies. Have you noticed how the media landscape has shifted? Late-night hosts who once dedicated entire monologues to Trump's latest tweet now barely mention him. The jokes have become predictable, the scandals repetitive, and the controversies recycled.
He recently advised Democrats in a New York Times op-ed to embark on the most daring political maneuver in the history of our country: roll over and play dead, allow the Republicans to...
We have a president who is siding with Belarus and North Korea and Russia. I'm sorry. That's a crisis.
Trump used to dominate headlines with a single post, but the collective media response has shifted from "oh my God" to "oh, him again." Social media tells the same story. Without his Twitter megaphone, Trump's Truth Social posts are getting a fraction of the engagement his tweets once received. His digital relevance has plummeted faster than a lead balloon. Each desperate attempt to recapture that old social media magic falls flatter than the last, with diminishing ripples across the internet landscape that once trembled at his every word. Perhaps most damaging is the Trump fatigue spreading through conservative circles. Even people who once defended his every move are quietly admitting they're exhausted by the constant drama, the endless scandals, the perpetual victimhood, the same recycled grievances. It's wearing thin even among the faithful. As Carville delights in pointing out, the novelty has worn off and the grievances have gone stale.
President who is starting a trade war with our 3 biggest trading partners, and we're watching the beginnings of which could be.
We extend this invitation to you a month ago when you first wrote those words, because we thought, what will Carville say when that deadline comes?
The evidence of Trump's declining influence goes beyond falling poll numbers. Republican candidates who once begged for his endorsement are now carefully weighing whether his support brings more problems than benefits. Some are quietly distancing themselves, calculating that Trump's shrinking base might not be worth the baggage he brings. The political calculus is changing, and Trump's stock is falling. What's especially delicious to Carville is that Trump's biggest fear isn't losing an election, it's becoming irrelevant. For a man who measures his worth in television ratings, social media engagement, and crowd sizes, the gradual public disinterest is a fate worse than electoral defeat. Trump can spin a loss as being cheated, but he can't spin empty seats and changing channels. Beyond the empty seats and declining ratings lurks Trump's true nightmare. His once rock-solid base is fracturing like cheap drywall. The MAGA faithful, who used to treat Trump like a political messiah, are now treating him more like that container in the back of the fridge. You know it's there, but nobody's eager to open it. The blind devotion that made Trump seemingly bulletproof is wearing thin precisely when he needs it most. What makes this especially delicious for Carville isn't just watching Trump's popularity tank, it's seeing the slow-motion collapse of what political observers once thought was an unbreakable bond between Trump and his supporters. While Trump continues to insist his base remains as loyal as ever, Carville points to mounting evidence suggesting otherwise. The MAGA faithful aren't storming out the door all at once, but they're definitely eyeing the exits. Republican focus groups have uncovered a phenomenon that's spreading through the conservative ecosystem like a virus: Trump exhaustion. These voters still nod along to his policy positions, but roll their eyes at the non-stop personal drama. One participant reportedly told researchers, "I like what he did, but I'm just tired of all the complaining." It's like they bought tickets to see a political revolution, but got stuck watching a reality TV marathon instead.
More likely in the next 30 days, and in November of 2025, we start turning the tide with what will be remembered as one of the most important elections.
We have a president that has appointed some of the most incompetent people you can imagine to the United States Congress. We have a...
Even more revealing is how these voters respond to Trump's constant stream of grievances. The same people who once hung on his every word are now checking their watches when he launches into his greatest hits about election fraud or witch hunts. As Carville gleefully notes, these supporters haven't necessarily changed their minds about Trump's policies. They've simply grown weary of his personality. Trump's mounting legal troubles aren't helping matters either. What's particularly interesting about these cases isn't just their potential legal consequences, it's how they're affecting voter perception. Supporters who once dismissed any accusation against Trump as fake news are now finding it harder to ignore the parade of indictments, depositions, and court appearances. These legal battles have transformed Trump's campaign stops into what Carville describes as pit stops between courtrooms, making even loyal supporters cringe with embarrassment. The former president, who once commanded unwavering loyalty from the Republican establishment, now resembles a punch-drunk boxer who doesn't realize the referee has stopped the fight. He's still swinging wildly while everyone else is filing out of the arena, checking the parking validation and wondering where to grab dinner. The spectacle that once captivated millions has become, well, a bit pathetic.
On the street, well, we have the man on the street. Trump has arrested Nancy Pelosi, and you voted for Trump. Well, so if I'd have known that.
This administration, in less than 30 days, in the midst of a massive collapse, in particularly a collapse.
Perhaps most telling is what's happening in the digital MAGAverse. The online army that once swarmed anyone who dared criticize their leader is losing soldiers daily. Social media warriors who built entire personalities around defending Trump are quietly slipping away to champion newer, less baggage-laden conservative figures. As Carville puts it, the magic trick is wearing off. The online echo chamber that amplified Trump's every utterance is losing its power as followers move on to fresher content. So what exactly is happening to Trump's base? They're experiencing what might be called a perfect storm of political disengagement, a combination of fatigue from the constant drama, embarrassment over the endless legal scandals, and a pragmatic desire to back someone who might actually win future elections. The true believers aren't necessarily changing their ideological positions, they're just tired of the Trump show and ready for a new season with different characters.
Around here and say, it's collapsing, and I'll meet you halfway. But that's about all
So
I can
Harry
do.
and
If you go to the Drudge Report, and I think it'll still be up, there's a story that talks about Trump having hand cuts, and you can link to it.
Carville's most devastating insight isn't that Trump's supporters are dramatically abandoning him, it's that something far worse is happening. They're simply losing interest. For a man who measures his worth by television ratings and crowd sizes, this gradual public disinterest represents the cruelest possible fate. Trump can spin an election loss as being cheated, but he can't spin people simply not caring anymore. As we wrap up, let's not forget what James Carville revealed about Trump's deepest fear. It's not prison time, bankruptcy, or even election defeats that keep Donald up at night. According to Carville, the worst thing that could ever happen to Donald J. Trump is for the cameras to stop rolling, for the headlines to move on, for people to stop caring. And that's exactly what's happening now, a slow motion collapse as viewers change the channel on Trump's reality show. The ultimate punishment for a man who measures his worth in headlines isn't losing, it's being forgotten. Trump's nightmare isn't going out with a bang, but with America's collective yawn.